Detective Sergeant. I'll start.
In case you didn't know.
Yep, now I know. Now, my name is John Newcomb. I'm the Detective Sergeant for the North End, running up there. So it's good to see everybody. I haven't had a chance to come by yet. And on behalf of the captain and the lieutenant, I was able to come today. So I appreciate it. I'm not really familiar with the procedure, but they gave me some statistical data. Usually that's read with the minutes, correct?
That's fine.
Yep. Okay. Just for the month of August, there was a speed trailer installed to monitor speed within the development. And basically that was for the awareness, to monitor speed and for the awareness for drivers to slow down, something as a visual deterrent to do that. There has been some traffic enforcement. The report within Century Village, there were 6 traffic stops, 5 citations were issued during those. There were 4 accidents that occurred during the month of August. Only one of those had injuries with it. I believe the injuries were minor. It was not something serious. No DUIs, no arrests. There was 1 written warning, a verbal warning, and there was 1 hit and run during that time period. So the cases of interest that occurred during that time period in August, we had a residential burglary. As of now, one of my detectives is working it. There's not a whole lot of leads or information on that. It was simply there's a vacuum cleaner missing, but there's no possible suspects at this time, no leads, no video or witnesses of any sort. So I don't know where that's going at the moment, but it's a dead end so far. There were 2 fraud cases. Those are being handled. I have a detective dedicated to those, Matt Stone, and he's working on those and developing leads. The loss was fairly significant. And they're working on that. They're fraudulent checks. Somebody's washing checks and they get their hands on them, washing checks and grabbing them out of the mail. So it may be something that's derived here when it's put out to be mailed, or it may be something that upon receipt, wherever its destination is, the checks are being grabbed and then washed and rewritten for somebody else in that regard. There were 2 cases of vandalism. One of them had a slight bit of damage. The question is did that occur on site, or was it something that occurred elsewhere and was discovered on site? And again, in those cases, there was no witness or video, so we're not quite sure. One that was definitely occurred here, and it's a trend we're noticing all over the county, is the theft of catalytic converters. That's something that's becoming more and more prevalent everywhere. There was only 1 of those in here during that time frame.
A few months ago, we had 6 or 8 stolen out of the buses.
Yes, and they're valuable because of the precious metals that are inside the converters. And the problem is it's becoming more and more popular as people find out about it. It takes very little time. It's with a hacksaw, a bimetal blade, and a sawzall, and they get that off very quickly. It's tough to track those down afterwards if you don't catch them in progress because they're not serialized components. Mm-hmm. So even if I catch a probable suspect with one in his possession, I can't trace that back to your vehicle. Right. There's no serialized component. So the best we can do is deterrence and hopefully catch somebody in the act. But that's where we're at with that. There was only 1 that was over by Windsor D. But it's almost certainly, there's just a strong element all over the Okeechobee corridor of these thefts of catalytic converters. And we're doing a lot of surveillance and extra patrols trying to come across it in the midst of that.
Just a little note. I've been told that the catalytic converters have silver in them.
Yes, there's platinum, silver. There's a couple other
copper.
Yeah, and the process. They're not the suspects that we're coming across are not deriving those components themselves. They just cut it off, and the entire converter goes to any scrapyard that's accepting them, and then from there on, they're doing stuff. So it's just really difficult. The scrap yards are taking a lot of stolen wire, converters, all kinds of metals that they'll break down.
There's no proof that it's stolen.
No, And it's kind of the way the pawn shops do. A guy comes in with several items that just doesn't seem right, but they just,
Yeah.
a wink and a nod sometimes. The more upright, good business owners, we turn them away or call us, but some don't, unfortunately.
You guys.
Yeah. Throughout, for the entire month, throughout the entire area, the area of Century Village, was 187 calls for service. Most of those were 911 hangups or welfare checks. And of those 187 calls for service, there were 45 actual case numbers pulled. Much of those were information reports, documenting something on somebody's behalf or documenting what occurred during a welfare check or whatnot. So, and that's the conclusion I have for those. If you have any questions of me. Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's in your purveyance a possibility. The Haverhill exit used to have a sign, no going through the red. That sign was just 5 minutes ago. I'm waiting at the left lane and I see these cars speeding down, not even stopping, but they make that right turn. Rather than, is there a way to put that sign back that you cannot turn on red?
If you can get me the location this was at before, I can see if I can get roads and DOT, because a lot of times we'll deal with them. Even unofficial signs, they'll create one for us to place.
Right at the exit on Haverhill at Century Boulevard.
Is it on village property or was it out in somewhere that DOT can go?
It's hanging on.
Because DOT did have it hanging, but
Was it a no turn on red? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's as you're exiting onto Haverhill, the right-hand turn on red?
There's an arrow,
on
but the sign is gone.
Century Boulevard and Haverhill.
That was removed by DOT.
Was there, do we remember, was there a reason they removed it or it was just?
Because I think people were complaining that they wanted it taken down. I think you've got people, it's a fight in here. Some people want it up, some people don't, so.
Is it getting overly congested with people trying to exit? I mean, is there a time where there's just so many people trying to leave?
That's the problem. The light's got a long cycle. And pit traffic was backing up and people were going 2-3 cycles.
Why don't I see if maybe there's a happy medium we could see about DOT putting a sign back up, but also DOT changing the time at the certain busy hours, changing the cycle of the light so it's more rapidly getting people out. They're not waiting forever to make that right turn.
Part of the problem is the temple's across the street. So then when they push that button for pedestrians to walk across, that adds additional time. And people are impatient. And I see them making with the sign they were making the right on red.
Yeah.
So
this whole area,
down.
this whole area with traffic's pretty, there's a lot of speeding outside of your development when you're trying to exit, and it's becoming more and more dangerous to try to negotiate these corners. So I'll get with DOT and check and see if they can address.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the sergeant?
I'm sorry, Jillian, could I see you for 1 second? I'm very sorry.
All right. I thank the officers already with the pill drop that's up at the clubhouse today. And the next pill drop will be, where I confirmed it with Officer Ellis, that will be December 2nd. Excellent. So, and I'm going to make a flyer, update the flyer like we did on our own. What he explained to me that the flyer that we did have was made over 15 years ago. That's why we had to wait 3 months and nobody could update it. So, but he saw the sign that we made. I left all the sheriff's paraphernalia off and he said it was perfect. So I just want to let everybody know that will be the next pill drop. Daniel.
Yes.
Platinum is.
Our rovers responded to 172 calls. And at the gatehouses, 23 expired passes were confiscated, 2 resident passes were confiscated, guests attempting to use for entry, and everything else is detailed in the report.
Unbelievable.
Any questions for Platinum? You go Platinum.
Job. Wow, that's unbelievable.
There should be some copies out here.
What do you mean?
No, what
Usually we have one for you guys.
Yeah, there is.
You want,
Does anybody have any questions for Daniel? Okay. Steve, clubhouse.
All right.
Okay, is that yours?
The slowest month.
I got a
for
couple.
clubhouses. We had only 47 ID violations, 11 of them were not resident guests. Even our traffic violations were down 64, 39 of those were wrong-way driving. And that's about it. Nothing else is really exciting.
Okay.
thank God.
Any questions for Steve? Okay. Mr. Plotnick, COP's report.
Basically, it was very quiet last month. None of my people reported anything. I had one, not really a security, but and over in the Dorchester D, there was the ground sinking where a repair was made. And I referred it to Donald and he took care of it. That's about it. Other than that, it's been quiet. Well, I did make an announcement that we needed people at the meeting earlier today. And I did have 3 people show interest.
Good.
So I will give that to the recruiting group, and that'll be over there tonight.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Plotnick? Okay. George, you have anything to inform the committee?
I'm on the Sheriff's Advisory Committee and we're having a meeting next Wednesday. If there's anything you want me to bring up, talk to me.
We do want to say thank you for them bringing in the sign, the speed sign, for the coverage that they're giving us, and any extra support that they can give us to keep the speeders down.
So we're going to continue traffic enforcement.
Yes.
And I don't know, getting that speed trailer back again, that's what I don't be rough.
Whenever it's available.
Whenever it's available, we'd like to get that back. Anything else?
Any committee that?
Could we put that speed trailer on the west side? It was on this side here, and I seen people going, and all kinds of clips every day of the week. The Oxford.
I could ask them. I don't know if there's enough room on the swale.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't.
That's probably why they had to put it where they put it.
I just want to know, because all of a sudden I can get up and all of a sudden see a car going by, and I know it's not doing 20 fucking miles an hour. So I thought maybe a sign up there would help.
Yes.
I just want to say something. I was on patrol in the sheriff's car. I'm doing a 24, 25. There's a guy behind me passing me by doing 50.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's 2 lanes. Where's it going?
Every week.
And another thing is when it comes to the habit, especially a habit of, they're speeding up and then they get stopped at the light. Where are these people going? Well, you can't stop them. Pass on the yellow line. They do it again. Yeah.
Unfortunately, as you know, unless the sheriff sees them breaking the law.
Right.
But maybe what you guys can make a suggestion that you have a video cam in your car, and while you're driving around, I don't know if the sheriff's department would allow that in the COP cars, but maybe if our COP car could have a video cam in there and catch these people going around a COP patrol car, crossing the double line, that would give you the license plate number, the time, and everything else that went on. Maybe we could have some recourse.
I can inquire as to the installation of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I do know we wouldn't be able to enforce based on something we didn't personally witness. However, with the information from that, it might be something where we could go by and educate that individual. Because I mean, the main focus and purpose of our traffic enforcement is to, number one, educate people Sometimes they're not aware. I realize they're probably aware exactly what they're doing. Sometimes they're not. And secondarily, to try to bring about a behavioral change.
Right.
So with that information, if we can go talk to the individual, maybe just having a conversation about what was observed and that it's not a lawful driving pattern within the village.
That'd be great.
Maybe that's something that would bring about that behavioral change. We can help that way.
That'd be great. Because we do have people, I mean, they go around a regular car, but to see a sheriff's car with a light going on and you go around it, that's kind of like ballsy.
Another thing that on this here, I'm stopped at a stop sign and the guy behind me is beeping his horn.
I know.
Is that unusual?
No, that's not unusual.
Not here in the village.
Unfortunate.
With the police car.
I understand. Okay.
Is there any way of getting safety classes about driving in here? I mean, for 25 years, we did school for driving.
After the meeting, I will tell you the last driving class that was held at the clubhouse. I don't want to put it on recording, but I will fill you in. Okay. There should be safety driving classes, yes. And as a point of interest, I just spoke to my cousin who turned 74, and because she's 74 years old and lives in Italy, after the age of 70, every year, your license is only good for 3 years. You must have a full physical, a cardiogram, and eye check before they renew your license. And once you turn 80, that's done annually. Physical, cardiogram, and eye check before they renew your license. And we have people here in their 90s that renew their license and they're good for 7 years. So
You'll never be able to get that through.
I'm just saying that other countries are a little ahead of us, that some of these things should be considered, that at a certain age, your reflexes in your mind is not as sharp as it was 90 years ago. Does anybody have any questions for any of the committee members? Any questions? Anything they would like to discuss? Anything they'd like to bring up?
You don't mind.
Sure.
All right, so when actual IDs, resident IDs are confiscated because they've loaned them out to family or a friend or a contractor, in order to get that back, they do have to sign a form admitting that they did the wrong thing. And we explain that with their photo, it's only to be used by them. So, and we make them sign that. So it's sort of like a contract. I normally don't get the same person back. It's not a repeat offense. So just wanted to let you know that. The other thing is recently we have somebody that's in the village, a flipper. He may be causing problems for security because I have to assume the buildings are calling, but he'll buy the unit, tell him he's fixing it up for him and his wife. The fact is he's not going to live in it. He's just flipping it, but then he just does what he wants. So he's got all these, vehicles coming in, vendors, contractors, and he parks where he wants. He doesn't follow any of the building rules. He's nasty, he's belligerent, but he's got a resident ID. So I'm going to flag his name and I'm going to contact the buildings involved because what he should be getting is a non-resident ID. And with that, also, I want to tell the buildings that to empower them, that they don't have to give it to him for a year. We can give it to him for 3 months at a time. And that if he doesn't behave himself and he breaks all the building rules, they don't have to issue another ID, for another 3 months. So that's, we're going to dangle that in front of him. He also shouldn't have barcode. Okay, so we can make it difficult. He can still get in, but we'll make it difficult for him to come through the gates. But the point is empowering the buildings to have some leverage to try to control this behavior, because we know he's not the only flipper, and he's really given himself a very bad reputation. So we're going to be looking at that, and I'll probably want to know from Daniel when I give him the name, if he's aware of this person. I'm sure he probably is. So
these are the type of things that we can help each other out.
Yes,
with.
absolutely.
Well, he can't be issued more than one ID.
But one will retire and will expire. He'll have to turn that one in to get the one for the next 3 months.
Okay.
He's not going to want to deal with that traffic, especially now that season is coming, the lines are going to be longer to get in. He'll be very unhappy. So that's, I think, how we can get him to maybe just at least toe the line with the buildings, at least.
Yes, David.
revisiting an item I think Jerry brought up on the right turn on red after stop and the sign. And if you've been on this committee for any length of time, you may remember that there's a very important issue there. And I would think long and hard before allowing a right turn there. It's a long straightaway, north-south Haverhill, particularly tractor trailers. And they can see that light, right? They can see that light at the intersection and they see it's green and they think they're gonna speed like crazy to make that light. And here comes a little old lady making that right turn. And I believe that is the reason we decided not to allow right turn on red at that intersection. And we decided that a long time ago. And I remember Captain Calloway, that's how far back I remember, where this was decided, agreed with us on that. That's a very dangerous intersection because of the speeders going up north to south to make that light at Okie. So it's something to think about.
So we don't want to change, we just want to put a sign up, no.
Put it back.
Careful what you ask for.
Right.
Well, exactly.
Either way, it causes problems.
That's the question.
They're still gonna run it. They'll run the lights and our residents will still make the right on red even though there's a sign, you know, and that's the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, and there have been major crashes at that site. And there was a person killed, but that was a different situation. It was dark clothing, it was raining, but I remember years ago, we decided not to allow that right turn at all. You may want to rethink it, but something, I don't know.
All we can do is look into it, why it was
That's
removed, and that's great. Anybody else, anything that they would like to bring up to this committee? Yes, George.
Also, just in line with what we were just talking about, my meeting next Wednesday, if we can get together today and make something definite, I can bring it up and give it to the bosses and people, go-getters and all.
Okay. Does anybody have any suggestions that would like to sit down with George after the meeting and discuss it, or give it to him now so we have a record of it? Whatever you decide. I told you what my thoughts are.
Yeah, I'll go with the majority. I mean, I can remember when we couldn't make a turn and said no turn on red.
Right.
And the traffic was backed up all the way, especially during season. It was backed up all the way almost to the stop sign.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
which is the safest? That's the way you have to look at it. And probably
What about a green
arrow?
green arrow?
There is a green arrow.
There is a green arrow there.
There is,
The green arrow?
Oh, yeah.
People don't look.
right.
Yeah, they shoot up even with the arrow on that.
Maybe we should just leave things well enough alone.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
but there's no sign that says don't turn on red.
Put a sign up,
The sign is
be
taken out.
drive carefully.
Right. Yeah, that pops out of the ground and you ride over it.
Like,
Yeah.
I just got hit twice today, like people look, they don't look, and I scream.
Yes, sir.
There was an agreement signed. Yuko wasn't even, I mean, it was way back. It was signed by management with PBSO to enforce traffic regulations in here. And we have from time to time asked for increased enforcement. I would just say, be careful what you ask for. Speeding tickets, I believe now are over $200. And you may remember the story with Barbara.
Yes.
She complaining, oh gee, got to enforce the law. And on her way home, she got a speeding ticket. So be careful.
True. That's true.
Yep. They go by me too. My crime is doing the speed limit on the ring road and they go right by me across the double yellow line.
That's right.
There should be a $5,000 fine for that. Elderly people crossing a double yellow line with oncoming traffic from the other direction. What is going to happen?
Is there any particular time of day or night that this is just
Anytime.
Nobody stops at stop signs either.
That's true.
And a lot of it is contractors.
Huh?
A lot of it is contractors.
Or healthcare workers.
Yes, I'm not saying the residents, but I've seen a lot of contractors that they'll come in and, they'll come in and like your horse races, the gate goes up and they're gone.
And then you remember, and I'm just reiterating what Sergeant Newcomb said, we used to have traffic lights with cameras on it and people used to get tickets in the mail. Yes. That was struck down. They cannot give a ticket based on camera. As he said, they have to witness the event.
Too bad. But one suggestion, my thought, since they might need more than a deterrent of seeing a sheriff's car or police car, but have an undercover car driving the perimeter road on the regular speed limit of 25 miles an hour, you might catch a few people passing you on the left over a double line.
Yes.
That would be perfect. An undercover car.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, bring it up.
I've seen where Palm Beach is leaving unmarked cars parked someplace. You come over here, you see it's a car, you automatically slow down because you know if there's somebody in there or not.
Well, then
is there any way they have to put empty cars in certain areas, and all of a sudden somebody sees it and comes to a stop?
I'll get with the traffic.
We tried that for years. We had a phantom car at the four-way.
Yes.
It works for a few days.
Right, exactly.
We're doing that now. During our tour, we want to take a break from the driving. We'll pull over on the four corners and park there like for 15, 20 minutes or whatever.
Right.
And you see them, they come speeding up to the stop sign and then they see the car and they stop. So it is a slight deterrent.
Committee members, does anybody have anything else to bring to the table? Security. Officer, do you have anything that you would like to share with us? Anything that we might be able to do better or worse? Or
No, sir. Well, I would say the some of the incidents we get that come back in, the ability for us to go back and research the comings and goings at the entrances, to find a trend or who's coming in and out, and sometimes it's very difficult. So there's I think some of the element that's coming in is and we found it ourselves is coming in with old passes or old identifications, and I see you guys are cracking down on that. So hopefully that will deter some of the issues we're having in regards to whatever element is coming in to commit crimes and then go out, or they're using their mother's pass and they're the derelict younger child that's.
Well, the footage that Daniel can supply you, gentlemen, has that been helpful? There's enough resolution there for your cameras to get the information that you require? Or
usually there is. I mean, sometimes it depends on the time of day, the distance, the lighting. I mean, there's so many variables nowadays. You can have the best of cameras, and at a distance, it looks like a beautiful picture. But when you zoom in to try to get the detail you need to identify the pixelation, so it's difficult. There's a lot of variables, but yeah, all in all.
Because I know Daniel does quite a bit of research when you need something. I know he looks at film for hours at a time to try to help you guys.
Yep. Okay. There's, I do know, just as a additional idea, there is a company called Flock. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And I'm not FLOCK. I see other areas where they've utilized that. And what Flock is it's a tag reading system.
LPR.
Yeah, it's an LPR. Its abilities are pretty phenomenal in that if there's a tag we're looking for, you can enter it in the database. It'll come up all the comings and goings. You can then start to narrow down, because it also gives you the vehicle it was on, and other information can be helpful investigatively to find out what was present during this, or what time did the scooter that was stolen leave, those kind of things. But it also, from a law enforcement standpoint, you can flag certain things. If a stolen vehicle enters your property, Flock alerts.
It's real time on the internet.
We can get real time alerts from Flock.
Wow.
Haven't they used that for years on the turnpikes and highways?
Yeah.
Taking a picture of the license plates?
That's not the system they're using, but yes, that technology has. I could tell you, for instance, the city of Riviera Beach uses Flock as their LPR system, but they make a great civilianized version that you guys are able to control and filter and see what you need, give access or deny access or whatnot. But it collects data in such a way that if you all had it and you granted us access, then we would be able to be notified if, for instance, if there was a suspect that we know his tag and we know he's doing burglaries in this area. We could tell Flock to tell us if that car comes by. We could tell Flock to tell us about stolen vehicles or stolen tags or all these different things. So a lot of different developments and a lot of different neighborhoods have gone to it. I know up in the north end, there were some streets off of Prosperity Farms Road where they had multiple high-end burglaries to their vehicles and stolen cars. They ended up contacting Flock. Flock installed a camera, and that one street, that neighborhood has that feature. So in the middle of the night, if there's say for instance, you saw a suspicious vehicle and you got a tag on it, you could enter that into your Flock system. And if that vehicle comes back in, you get noticed right away. So if you said, hey, there were some people that were scoping out cars in the parking lot, or we think we saw them take a bike off a rack and leave with it. You'd like to know when that car comes back in. You can put that in the system and get a notice of, hey, our bike thieves are back, or whatever, you name it.
Obviously we can research, we will research this. Can your tech section give us some cost figures?
It wouldn't be our tech section. I mean, and I'm bringing that up as one of the ones that are out there. I don't work for them. I'm not, from a law enforcement standpoint, I'm just saying we've utilized that system that other people have possessed. And I know Riviera Beach uses it, several other civilian areas use it, and Flock does.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I could get you the information on that if it's something you want to look into.
Sure. Sure.
That seems to be the most prevalent of companies that does that. But that would be very useful from a law enforcement standpoint. Some type of tag reader, LPR, that has the capacity to be filtered. You can program it to do those things, give us alerts and whatnot.
Isn't that the same system they use for the turnpike? When you got to go to use your license number.
It's similar. It's the similar technology, but it's a different. It's not. They don't use Flock. Theirs is I believe it's. I'm not sure. I would be speaking out of turn to say what specific system they're using, but it's the same technology. But it is these LPRs will get a picture of the vehicle, and when it gets a tag, and the algorithm in the system just reads the tag and it goes into the database and it keeps track of all those.
Thank you. That was a good suggestion.
Yeah.
If you ever watched that show Parking Wars,
Yeah.
they have that on top of the van. They just go down the street and you hear beep, beep, or whatever, beep or bop or whatever it is, and they got their car and they throw a boot on it or.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Good.
A highway patrol here, I don't know if they still use it. They tried it years ago. They had something in their cars for a while. They could go down 95 or wherever at highway speed, 70 miles an hour, and it read every tag
We still have, those capabilities. We have a few vehicles outfitted like that. And, for instance, the sheriff's office is using a company called, Vigilant. But that's only law enforcement. They don't have from what I understand, they don't have a civilianized version of it. But anyways, with Vigilant, it's constantly, we have fixed systems that look like speed trailers that say your speed, and there's cameras that are picking up tags going by, and then there's fixed locations that are mounted at the intersections that do that. But we also have a few vehicles where there's cameras mounted fore and aft, and you have a computer inside that it's all loading to and throwing it up into the system. So they'll drive through parking lots. Almost all of your tow companies on the tow trucks, they have these cameras. So as they drive through parking lots to come in at night through bars, neighborhoods to tow, they're grabbing every tag. And if it comes across, there's a stolen vehicle or anything that we flagged, it'll alert us. So it's still in use.
Great. All right, it was 5 minutes well spent. Thank you very much. Anything else before we entertain a motion to close? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Daniel,
He's doing quite well. I just left him at the office.
Yeah.